Next-gen AI discovery platform.
OpenAI just locked its enterprise clients into multi-year contracts and then quietly cut off API access to every rival integration they were using. This isn't a product update. This is a siege. And you're already inside the walls. Here's what nobody's telling you. Every time you open your AI assistant in 2026, you think you're making a choice. You're picking a tool. You're being productive. But you're not choosing anything. You've already been chosen. The switching costs buried inside these platforms, your conversation history, your custom GPTs, your workflow automations, your enterprise data pipelines, they're not figures, they are anchors, engineered, intentional, billion-dollar anchors. OpenAI's new enterprise tier locks in for a minimum of 3 years, in an industry that completely reinvents itself every 4 months. Most users have no idea they signed up for a war. They just wanted to summarize their emails faster. And it gets worse, way worse. DeepSeek R2 dropped its API pricing so low, we're talking 80% cheaper than GPT-4o. Western startups are quietly migrating entire backends to a model that is, let's be honest, state adjacent. Beijing doesn't need to steal your data if you're voluntarily batting your company's internal documents to subsidized infrastructure. Then there's Google. Gemini Ultra isn't just available on Android anymore. It's the default. Preloaded, pre-permissioned, 2 billion devices. You didn't install it. It was already there when you woke up. And Anthropic? Claude just signed what 3 separate defense journalists are calling a classified government intelligence contract. The details are sealed. The implications are not. Your neutral AI assistant. The one you use to write your performance reviews, plan your finances, draft your medical questions, it is already picked a side. The question isn't which AI is best anymore. The question is, who does your AI actually work for? Let's talk about the actual map of power in 2026. Because this isn't just a tech competition anymore. It's a full-spectrum geopolitical war, and your productivity tools are the territory being fought over. First Empire, OpenAI, and Microsoft. Think of them as NATO, a transatlantic alliance controlling the enterprise gateway. Microsoft's Copilot is now embedded in Windows 12. Azure handles roughly 40% of commercial AI inference globally, and GPT-5 sits at the center of Fortune 500 workflows. They don't just sell tools, they own the corporate on-ramp. Second Empire, Google. The incumbent superpower, Gemini Ultra 2.0, is baked into every Android device, every Gmail thread, every Google Workspace subscription. 2.5 billion active users. Google doesn't need to win the AI race, they just need to not lose it. Because their distribution moat is almost structurally unbeatable. Third, Anthropic, the shadow intelligence apparatus. Funded heavily by Amazon's AWS infrastructure, Claude 4 is quietly running inside healthcare systems, legal platforms, and government contractor tools, places where the brand name stays invisible, but the influence compounds. They don't market to you. They market to the institutions that govern you. And fourth, DeepSeek, the asymmetric challenger. No massive marketing budget. No Silicon Valley campus. Just ruthlessly efficient models priced at fractions of Western competitors. And a developer community growing faster than anyone in the West wants to admit. 4 empires, 4 choke points, and you're standing in the middle of all of them every single time you open an app. Here's something your IT department understands but probably haven't told you out loud. OpenAI in 2026 is running a carrier lock-in playbook. And if you lived through the Verizon contract era of the 2000s, 2-year agreements, early termination fees, proprietary chargers, pekik, you already know exactly how this ends. Break it down. GPT-5 isn't universally available. The full capability version, with extended context windows, real-time reasoning, and the agentic tool calling features enterprises actually need, sits behind the Pro and Enterprise tiers, starting at $30 per user per month at the low end and scaling into 6-figure annual contracts for large deployments. You want the model everyone's benchmarking against? You're paying for the privilege, and you're signing an annual commitment to get the real price. Then layer on the Azure dependency. OpenAI's Enterprise API, the one with guaranteed uptime SLAs and compliance certifications that regulated industries require, runs exclusively through Azure infrastructure. You're not just buying an AI model, you're buying into Microsoft's entire cloud stack. That's not an accident, but architecture as policy. And the switching friction is real. Organizations that have built intuitive tools, fine-tuned workflows, and trained employees on GPT-5's specific output patterns are going to face genuine rebuilding costs if they try to migrate. OpenAI's own plugin and efficient ecosystem creates compatibility webs that competitors can't easily replicate. This isn't conspiracy, it's rational corporate strategy. But you should see it for what it is. A deliberate bet that cognitive infrastructure lock-in is even stickier than cloud storage lock-in ever was. Because switching your AI stack means retraining your entire organization's brain. Now let's talk about the move that has Western AI executives genuinely losing fleet. Because DeepSeek R2 isn't just a competitive product rail, it's an economic weapon, and it's being used with surgical precision. Here's the core mechanic. DeepSeek's inference costs to end users run at roughly 10 to 15% of comparable Western model pricing. That gap is not explained by engineering efficiency alone. And DeepSeek's engineers are genuinely brilliant, so let's not minimize that. But the structural advantage comes from state-aligned compute access. Chinese government subsidies flowing through entities, like the National Compute and Power Network, mean DeepSeek isn't pricing to margin. It's pricing to market capture. This is the textbook asymmetric economic warfare strategy. You undercut on price until your competitor's unit economics collapse. Then consolidate the developer bench around your infrastructure. Western AI startups, the ones without Microsoft or Google or Amazon backstops, are already feeling the margin compression. When your competitor is effectively infinitely subsidized, you cannot win a price war. You can only survive it if someone bigger is absorbing your losses. And here's the deeper strategic layer. Developers are pragmatic. When DeepSeek R2 produces comparable outputs at a fraction of the cost, they integrate it. They build on it. Supply chains of code, tooling, and institutional knowledge accumulate around Chinese infrastructure, quietly, efficiently, without a single headline. By the time Western governments finish debating regulatory responses, the developer ecosystem may already be structurally dependent. That's not a bug in DeepSeek's strategy, that's the entire point. Here's the thing about Google's 2026 playbook. It's not new. It's the same move they ran with Chrome, with Search, with Android itself. Pay to be the default. Except now, the default isn't a browser, it's your thinking partner. As of March 2026, Gemini Ultra is pre-installed and set as the default AI assistant across every new Android 16 device. That's roughly 72% of the global smartphone market. You don't download it, you don't agree to a comparison screen, you just turn on your phone and it's already there, already learning your calendar, your emails, your search history. And in Google Workspace, which now serves over 10 million businesses globally, Gemini is embedded directly into Gmail, Docs, and Meet, not as an add-on, as the interface itself. Your employee onboards, opens their company laptop, and Gemini is the first thing that speaks to them. This is what researchers at the Georgetown Center for Security and Emerging Technology called cognitive default capture in their February 2026 report. The idea is simple. Humans defer to whatever requires the least friction. Google isn't winning your AI royalty. They're inheriting it before you ever ask the question. The EU's Digital Markets Act enforcement team opened a formal inquiry into this exact practice in January 2026. But inquiries take years. Market share takes weeks. By the time any regulator rules, 1 billion people will already call Gemini just how AI works. While Google is winning by being everywhere, Anthropic is winning by being trusted somewhere more valuable. Inside the machinery of governments and regulated industries. In late 2025, Anthropic secured a $2.4 billion federal AI services contract, the largest single AI procurement in U.S. government history. By March 2026, Claude 4 is actively deployed across agencies, including the Department of Veterans Affairs and elements of the Department of Defense's administrative infrastructure. And the key to unlocking those doors? Constitutional AI. Constitutional AI started as an internal alignment methodology, a framework Anthropic built to make Claude refuse harmful outputs by design. But what it became, strategically, is a certification moat. Because when federal procurement officers evaluate AI vendors, they're not just buying capability, they're buying liability protection. And Anthropic knew this. Their 2026 enterprise sales deck, which leaked partially on LinkedIn in February, explicitly positions constitutional AI not as ethics, but as compliance infrastructure. Healthcare systems running HIPAA workloads, financial institutions under SEC algorithmic transparency rules, defense contractors under CMMC 2.0 requirements. Claude is now the only major LLM with pre-approved audit trails baked into its architecture. That's not safety. That's a drawbridge. Rivals without equivalent certification frameworks are locked outside the castle wall of the highest-paying regulated market on Earth. So what does any of this actually mean if you're just a person trying to get work done? Meet what productivity researchers are now calling AI debt. It's not a metaphor. It's a real switching cost that's growing every single month you spend inside one AI ecosystem. Here's how it works. By March 2026, most major AI platforms have launched some form of persistent memory and personalized model context. Gemini Ultra remembers your writing style, your project history, your preferences across 18 months of workspace activity. Claude Enterprise has built a compliance profile around your organization's data handling patterns. ChatGPT's memory layer has logged thousands of micro-preferences from your daily interactions. And the moment you decide to switch, you don't just lose your chat history, you lose your AI's understanding of you. And according to a March 2026 survey by Gartner, the average knowledge worker now estimates it would take 4 to 6 months to rebuild equivalent AI personalization on a new platform. That's not a switching cost. That's a hostage situation. And then there's the fragmentation problem. Your company runs Workspace with Gemini. Your healthcare provider uses a Claude integrated portal. Your personal finance app is built on OpenAI's API. These agents don't talk to each other. Context doesn't transfer. You spend your day code switching between AI dialects, repeating yourself to machines that should already know you. The AI war isn't just being fought in boardrooms and federal contracts. It's being fought in your daily friction, your wasted minutes, your fragmented cognitive workflow. You didn't enlist, but you're already in the trenches, so the market is captured. The consolidation is real, but that doesn't mean you're helpless, not even close. Here's your 2026 playbook for staying sovereign. First move, local deployment. Autonomy has quietly become the go-to runtime for running open-weight models on consumer hardware. And in early 2026, it now supports Meta's Llama, 4 Scout and Maverick variants right out of the box. If you've got a machine with 32 gigs of unified memory arrested, think a current-gen MacBook Pro. Or a mid-range AMD Radeon RX 9070 rig size, you can run a legitimately capable model locally, completely offline, zero-toe telemetry. Nor Cogger sanctions sting yours. Second move, API abstraction layers. Tools like LightLLM and OpenRotor let you swap underlying models without rewriting your entire workflow. You're not married to any one provider. Think of it like using a universal remote. The model is just a backend. Third move, apply a decision framework before surrendering data. Ask yourself 3 questions. 1, does this AI tool touch sensitive personal or financial data? 2, is there a self-hosted alternative within acceptable performance range? 3, am I using this because it's genuinely superior or just because it's the default? If the answer to question 1 is yes, and question 2 is also yes, you have no excuse. Tools like Mistral's local deployable models and open source alternatives to Microsoft Copilot like OpenWebUI now cover roughly 80% of everyday productivity use cases. The relationships that are truly unavoidable in 2026 are narrower than big tech wants you to believe. Know which chains are real and cut the ones that aren't. Here's where we stand in March 2026. Our empires are fighting over the most valuable real estate in history. Your attention, your data, and your decision-making. OpenAI wants your subscription. DeepSeek wants your dependency. Google already owns your defaults. Anthropic is selling you safety as a luxury product. And you're the battlefield, but knowing the Dane changes how you play it. Rotate your tools, read the terms. Never let one platform become your only thinking partner. Your cognitive sovereignty isn't guaranteed it's defended daily. If this opened your eyes, smash that subscribe button because Miss Moore has new battles every single week. And drop us in comments which AI empire do lie and think is winning your mind right now. Share this to someone who needs to wake up.